but I write as Sunyati. So most people know me as Sue. So I always like to describe myself as a writer by passion and an investment analyst by profession. So I didn't train as a writer. I was trained, in finance and investments. But I think I was a writer by calling. I had a calling for it. Because at a young age, even when I used to play, I used to act out stories. So even before I had the language to write, I was already, acting out, playing out the stories in my playtime. So I would have characters, acting out. And I remember my father used to say to me, why are you talking to yourself? And I'd be like, I'm not talking to myself. These are actually people. So in my play, I was actually constructing storylines and narratives. And then when I finally, could read and write and had the vocabulary, that's when I actually transitioned to writing on the page. But as you know, in our African families, careers like writing are not encouraged. We come from a generation where we were encouraged to pursue white-collar professions, like be a lawyer, be a doctor. And so that's, essentially how I landed up in finance. And it's not to say that that advice was not without wisdom, because most people who are in the arts and the creative industry know how difficult it is to earn a sustainable living. So, I was in a profession in the investment industry, finance and investment industry, for over 15 years. So I did ply that trade, but I think I always had imposter syndrome. I felt like I wasn't where I'm supposed to be. Yes, I could do the job, but it was just that, a job. So, but my calling was always, trying to pull me away to do what I think I was actually called to do. So I used to write in the background. So it was more like a hobby and something you do in your spare time after hours. I actually used to have a problem at times in my finance writing, because business writing is more objective, no emotion, it's factual. And I always had that temptation to bring that flowery language. So a lot of the times in my reports, it was like remove, that, because that creativity would always leak through, So I had to then switch off. It's like wearing two hats. So, you by day you're the financier, by night you're the creative. So there was no divergence. And so that's why I think there was a lot of tension. Because if there had been some sort of divergence, I probably would have carried on, right? So there was that tension between the two. And also, with writing, you need to write, like, to get better at it. You need to